Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in as we kick off another week. The weekend was consumed with more details of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We have an update on the suspect and more details of what actually happened leading up to it. A memorial service has been planned this weekend on Sunday to celebrate the short life of Charlie Kirk. We have that information for you, too. Also, over the weekend, more and more examples of left-leaning zealots celebrating the brutal killing of Charlie Kirk. And guess what? These evil people are learning that, yes, we do have freedom of speech, but there's also consequences for irresponsible speech. Clemson University Board of Trustees will be meeting later today to discuss the appropriate response of a professor who celebrated the assassination. And finally, a professor at Presbyterian College is in the spotlight as well, as she too blamed Charlie for his speech and the cause of his death and suggests that others should be held to the same standards. South Carolina Representative Luke Rankin joins us to discuss his letter to the president of the college demanding that action be taken.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
So we're diving into the story, of course, a lot of talk over the weekend as people came together in churches yesterday. A lot of pastors talked about Charlie Kirk and this horrific assassination. I saw there was even a debate, or I guess I should say not debate, but the topic of a lot of social media posts yesterday was whether or not your pastor actually did bring it up. If your pastor talked about the killing of Charlie Kirk. Mine did. Did yours? Some of the folks whose pastor did not bring it up seemed to think that maybe they were acting a little cowardly by not bringing it up. I don't know. Was it appropriate? Were you glad? If your pastor brought it up yesterday, were you glad of that? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. But we're diving into some of the incidents that have unfolded across the country in the aftermath of this tragic assassination, where people have been put on leave, where they've lost their job, and in some cases where they haven't and people believe they should. And there's just so many examples that it's hard to narrow it down. I made a list of a few that I had discovered over the weekend. For example, Newport News, Virginia, a public school teacher was fired after posting, quote, "I hope he suffered through all of it." Wow. That this teacher would say that she or he, I don't know what their gender is, but that they hope that Charlie Kirk suffered. It's just amazing. Officials call the remark senseless and completely unacceptable. Well, of course, in Texas, the Klein Independent School District terminated an employee, though they did not disclose their identity, for making social media remarks deemed senseless and completely unacceptable. Also in Texas, the Texas Education Agency launched an investigation into educators who posted reprehensible or inappropriate content regarding the assassination. The commissioner emphasized that while free speech is protected, celebrating or inciting violence crosses the line. Yes, it does. In New York, a physics and robotics teacher from Naples Central School District, Patrick Friedwald, was placed on administrative leave after mocking Charlie Kirk's assassination, calling him, among other things, bad garbage and making lurid references to his death. Cumberland University in Tennessee terminated 2 staff members who identified as Dr. Michael Rex and another as Max Wood after social media posts included remarks like, "Karma is beautiful." Again, seemingly celebrating the death of this young man. At Middle Tennessee State University, an employee working in a position of trust with students was fired immediately for making what the university called inappropriate and callous comments about Charlie Kirk's murder. In New York, a teacher was placed on leave after a post celebrating Kirk's death with the phrase, "good riddance to bad garbage." It's just crazy that we have gotten to this point. Closer to home, here in the Palmetto State, in Greenville County, a social studies teacher at Southside High School, we talked about it last week, Wynn Bullock, is no longer employed by the school district of Greenville County. He posted online about Charlie's assassination last week. Thoughts and prayers to his children, but America became greater today. There I said it. Wow. After public backlash, the district placed him on leave. While investigating, later Greenville County Schools confirmed he's no longer employed there. Down in Georgia, just down the road, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta recently fired an employee for social media posts. The post included expletive-filled commentary that hospital officials said violated their social media policy, saying the type of rhetoric is not acceptable for children's employees and violates our social media policy. And see, that's part of this too. A lot of people are crying, well, Charlie Kirk was all for freedom of speech. Now that people are being critical of him, it's not freedom of speech. Well, there has to be some responsibility there. And if your employer has a social media policy in place that says that certain things are not allowable, then they can fire you for it. And some are. The Carolina Panthers communication staffer was fired. They were terminated. This communication staffer followed a controversial post about Kirk's death. The team emphasized that the employees' views were personal and did not represent the organization. See, these organizations, these companies, these school districts, they're putting some distance between themselves and these people. An employee with Lake Norman Charter School was placed on leave after a social media post related to the assassination. The school said the remarks were hateful and highly offensive and would cause pain and suffering. I mean, these educational professionals serve in roles where character and respect matter deeply, not just when inside the classroom, but online too. And again, it wasn't just education. Healthcare workers. Riverside Walter Reed Hospital in Virginia fired an anesthesiologist whose contract was terminated after she made social media posts supporting violence against a public figure in wake of Charlie Kirk's death. Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, again, terminated an employee who made an expletive-laced post on X about Kirk. In New Jersey, a nurse, Lexi Kuenzel, has filed a lawsuit after she was suspended without pay, she claims, for speaking out against a doctor, Dr. Matthew Jung, who allegedly celebrated Kirk's death in front of colleagues and a patient. Jung allegedly said Kirk had it coming, remarks that the nurse found deeply troubling, according to the lawsuit. She now claims retaliation and potentially religious discrimination given her faith and perspective. NASDAQ fired a junior-level sustainability strategist for social media posts apparently supporting violence or celebrating Kirk's death. The list goes on and on. Of course, we know last week MSNBC, they terminated Matthew Dowd. The Joe Burrow Foundation, founded by NFL quarterback Joe Burrow, removed a board member, an Ohio judge who posted phrases like rest in hatred and division and said Kirk had it coming. And across other companies, from Office Depot refusing to print Kirk-related materials to Delta, Microsoft, Children's Healthcare addressing employee posts, the tension between personal expression and organizational policy has been intense. People have lost their jobs. They've been suspended, as they should be. So it raises a lot of questions. Does private online speech, unless it's violent or truly criminal, warrant job termination? But some of this could truly be interpreted as violent or supporting violence. if you're celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Do institutions have a duty to enforce standards, especially during emotionally charged national tragedies? I don't know. Some people argue that because emotions are so high that people should be given a little additional grace. Can such firings be applied fairly, or are they pushed by public pressure and social media outrage, which we're seeing? Clemson University, they have a Board of Trustees meeting this afternoon, probably would not be having it if it weren't for the outrage that people have posted and called. I mean, there have probably been thousands and thousands of phone calls to elected officials and to Clemson. We'll see. A professor at Presbyterian College finds herself in the same spotlight over a senseless blog post blaming Charlie's speech for his death. South Carolina Representative Luke Rankin joins us a little later in today's show to talk with us about where he and his legislative colleagues stand on demanding that the president and trustees take action against this faculty member. It's a bad time out there, folks, when people are celebrating the death of another human being. Let's be honest, those summer vacations and backyard barbecues added some extra pounds, right? But instead of feeling guilty or falling further behind, it's time to reset, drop the weight, and get back in control. The solution isn't a shot. Real lasting weight loss starts with your mind, not your mouth. At PhD Weight Loss, Dr. Ashley Lucas and her team help you uncover the real reasons behind your weight gain so that you can reprogram the way you think about food forever. PhD clients lose up to a third of their body weight without ever taking a drug. I know because I lost 33 pounds with PhD weight loss. Through real food, behavioral coaching, and proven science, your body can become a natural fat-burning machine. Why risk spending thousands on shots that strip away muscle, come with dangerous side effects, and leave most people regaining 60% of the weight within a year? With PhD, you'll activate your body's natural appetite control, burn fat safely, and stay in control. Even if you're already on Ozempic, PhD can help you transition off while still losing weight. Take the first step today. Call 864-644-1900 or visit myphdweightloss.com. Since that shot was fired last week and took Charlie Kirk's life, the big question has been why. What motivated this young man? Who is this suspected killer, and why did he have so much rage at the age of 22 that he'd want to take someone else's life? Over the weekend, more information was released that now gives us a little better glimpse of what could have been fueling his rage. And boy, I got to say, some of this is just really dark stuff, folks. Charlie Kirk's alleged assassin lived with his transgender partner, according to senior-level FBI officials. Bureau officials confirmed that Tyler Robinson, 22 years old, was in a, quote, romantic relationship with Lance Twiggs, also 22. He's a male transitioning to a female. And they shared an apartment in St. George, Utah, according to the FBI. And those same FBI officials said that Robinson's partner is fully cooperating with the FBI investigation. However, according to a relative of the roommate, a woman who was not identified, talked to Fox News, wanted to remain anonymous, said that her relative began to act differently when he turned 18 and said that he developed a hatred of Christians and conservatives. The relative said, he hates conservatives and Christians. He hated us. He was not raised that way, but over the years has become really detached and been radicalized. He has obviously gotten progressively worse the last 2 years. Adding that he's always very angry. Now, again, this is the roommate, not the accused shooter, but his trans roommate. The relative suspects that Robinson's politics were probably influenced by his partner, saying, I think Tyler got a whole lot worse in the year they've been dating. They are big video gamers, and obviously they have that group that influences them as well as others. But my gut tells me that the roommate did more of the influencing. So this could be a little glimpse of what was fueling this young man's rage. The relative added, everybody in my family wants justice to be served and wants no part in this and wants whoever is involved in whatever way to have to pay for that. Moments before Robinson's alleged shot that killed Kirk, an audience member asked Kirk, do you know many transgender Americans have been mass shooters over the last 10 years? Charlie Kirk replied, too many. The question was, how many? Charlie Kirk said, too many. Kirk was then asked, do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? Kirk replied, counting or not counting gang violence. That was when the shot was fired and when he breathed his last breath. A law enforcement source told Fox News that Robinson's father, who ultimately turned him in to authorities, told the FBI that he recognized his son from the surveillance video images that FBI Director Kash Patel had directed to be made public. This young man, the alleged assassin, again, living with a transgender partner, it kind of starts adding up, doesn't it? Because we've all wondered, well, what was his motivation? Bureau officials confirmed this romantic relationship. And when you get into this, and you see some of and people have been digging through posts. This young Robinson also appeared to have a fixation on furries, while his live-in transgender boyfriend had publicly offered his support for Joe Biden and joked about being mentally ill himself. In a post on Reddit, this according to the Daily Mail, the transgender roommate said that he had been getting targeted advertisements for treatment for schizophrenia and other mental conditions on social media. The post reads, I've been getting recommended treatments for schizophrenia, BPD, and a brain tumor recently by my social media advertisement. This meme is perfect, thanks. His posts were not political a lot, but frequently reference his gender transition as well as being a former Christian. Seems he was angry with anyone who was a Christian. And again, all this comes as the suspected shooter had this bizarre tie to the furry lifestyle. An account on the website furaffinity.net, which features sexualized images of cartoon animal characters, features an account name matching one that the accused shooter, Robinson, used on his various gaming and online accounts. The spent cartridge, you may recall, that we talked about earlier, believed to belong to the murder weapon, was inscribed with the message, notices, bulges, OWO, what's this? A phrase associated, I'm told, I don't know, with popular furry internet memes. Now, the roommate, Twiggs, who was said to be aghast after learning of Robinson's alleged crimes, is being extremely cooperative, according to authorities, said it's pretty clear that Robinson's roommate knew a lot and didn't say anything after the killing, so they're a person of interest officially, but they are cooperating. We want to keep it that way, one official said. The other piece of this is, and this is all too familiar with some of these other shooters over the years, is they were both gamers. They were both loners. They appeared to spend a lot of time in their apartment in the dark on these gaming sites. It's just a very troubling way of life, I guess you could say. And Utah Governor Spencer Cox, he's blaming this type of culture as being part of the issue here. And I tend to agree with it. The governor said, I believe that social media has played a direct role in every single assassination and assassination attempt that we've had over the last 5 to 6 years. There's no question in my mind that cancer probably isn't a strong enough word. What we've done, especially to our kids, it took us a decade to realize how evil these algorithms are, talking about social media and the fact that it has on young people. And this whole online gaming community is the same. It's a dark, dark place. And it's just hard to believe or to recognize how these two young men, again, both 22 years old, how they could become consumed with this type of hatred and anger this early in life. Governor Cox claimed that Robertson was deeply indoctrinated in leftist ideology. When his family members are Christian and conservative, both of these young men. So how did they go astray so quickly to the point that their family members don't even seem to recognize them? It's a sad, sad time, folks, because we saw a lot of lives just changed forever, ruined last week. Up next, South Carolina Representative Luke Rankin joins us to talk about a similar situation that Clemson finds themselves in, but with Presbyterian College, as a professor there says Charlie Kirk's death was caused by his speech. Continuing this Monday show, glad to have you along. You know, since the vicious assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk, there have been, sadly, many reports of just mean-spirited, evil, and misguided people celebrating his brutal murder. Again, I know Charlie Kirk. We work for the same company. Salem Media syndicated Charlie's radio show and his podcast. Now, Charlie and I, we didn't speak on a daily basis, but our work has had us a lot of the times over the years at the same broadcast locations. We've worked together many, many times. And I shared the story recently on the Salem News Channel of the time a few years back when Charlie had a huge rally at Clemson University. And I reached out and I said, hey, look, we have some of your radio listeners here who would like to meet you. Any chance we might do a sort of a pre-event? And Charlie immediately agreed to it. And that's just the kind of guy he did. And he graciously spent a couple of hours meeting with the radio listeners, an event that he had not even planned when he was making his travel plans to come here. So for people who probably have maybe never even met Charlie Kirk, to be celebrating his death because of some leftist talking points that they misguidingly believe, it's just wrong. We've seen school teachers fired here in Greenville County. There have been college professors. The Board of Trustees of Clemson University will be meeting later today to address the evil remarks of one of their professors. But only after a huge outcry, by the way, and a letter from the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. I read the story, too, of a doctor in New Jersey being fired because his nurses saw him celebrating. It's just sickening to see this type of response. There's another case involving a professor at Presbyterian College that you may have heard about. And joining me on the guest line today, Representative Luke Rankin from House District 14. Representative Rankin, always good to talk with you.
Always good to talk with you too, Joey, and thanks for having me on the show. I think we're all, as Americans, still picking up the pieces from last week, one of the darkest weeks in American history with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It's definitely been difficult for many people, and as you said, everything that's been going on with the celebrations of his death, despicable.
Yes.
And we need to be exposing every single one of these people.
It's just amazing, the response that we've seen. Representative Rankin, I'd like to think if this had been someone on the other side, let's say AOC or someone representing that side of the spectrum, I don't think we would have been celebrating anyone's death. I just don't think that we would.
And if there was a situation where that happened, Joey, it would be front page news, 7 days in the week. It would be crazy. So you are absolutely right. And this situation we've got going on at Presbyterian College, Dr. Emily Taylor, one of the professors there, believe it or not, she's also the director of women's and gender studies there. Very woke professor, and she published an article the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination. And in that article, she was just disparaging Charlie Kirk throughout the whole thing. But then she states this comment that's really got a lot of people fired up. She said, quote, "The violent discourse espoused by Charlie Kirk has resulted in his murder," unquote.
Wow.
That is a threat to any conservative who espouses the same kind of rhetoric that we believe as conservatives that Charlie Kirk championed on college campuses across this country. And anyone that says that, she's basically saying, if you get killed, it's your own fault.
Yeah.
It's a sad time in America when we get to that place.
Yeah. I mean, she probably would apply that same thought to me and to a radio talk show host and to you as an elected representative. It's just amazing. All right. So she is a professor at Presbyterian College, which is down in your area. Have you received any response from the school? Has there been a response from the school?
So I sent a very formal letter, copied all the members of our Lawrence County delegation on Saturday evening to the president of the college. We have yet to receive a response. Hopefully we'll hear something soon. But, you know, if we don't hear anything back, Joey, we're going to keep escalating this, bringing more attention until they do at Presbyterian College what Clemson University has so reluctantly decided to do, and that's finally to hold a meeting.
Yeah.
But like I said, we need to expose these people, keep the pressure on, This is unacceptable behavior. And frankly, anyone that espouses this kind of rhetoric as a professor, someone that is guiding the future generation, they should have no business teaching our kids.
Yeah. And the thing that has really surprised me, I mean, you always expect that maybe there'll be an isolated incident like this, but Representative Rankin, this is happening all over the country. I mean, I can read you a list of situations of teachers and coaches and doctors, as I mentioned, some law enforcement personnel. I saw just yesterday afternoon, a school resource officer had been relieved of her duties because of just vile conversations and comments that she had made. And then there was a situation too of a elementary school teacher who had showed the actual video of Charlie of the bullet hitting him and him falling from his chair. She had played that over and over in her classroom to 11-year-olds.
It's outrageous. And I think what's even sadder about this whole situation is Charlie Kirk was the champion of free speech. He welcomed open dialogue and discussion. He challenged young people to think for themselves. And ultimately, let's not forget, he championed his faith in our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ more than anything. And this is the kind of reaction we get from people.
Yeah. You know, to people like this professor, Dr. Emily Taylor and others, and I've had some people on Facebook, I've made some comments on X and other social media posts, and I've had people challenge me. And my response has been, okay, I tell you what, you go listen, watch a few of Charlie Kirk's YouTube videos and get back to me. Because I challenged them to come up with a single instance of where he was inappropriate. Because Charlie had that way of just calmly debating someone. He loved for people to challenge his thoughts. He loved, and that's what he did. What he was doing when he died. You know, and that's why the left can't stand him. Yeah. And that's why they killed him, because they could not debate. And you'll find this. All the woke ideology going around, all these students that are being indoctrinated by our higher education systems, they can't carry on a debate with anyone that has any rational, logical viewpoints. And so the only way to shut up your opposition is to kill them. Yeah. And unfortunately, that's what happened to Charlie. And my hope and my prayer, and we're seeing this already since his assassination. Yeah. Millions and millions of people are waking up to how crazy the left has become. And they are alienating more and more Democrat voters by the way that they are treating this whole situation. Exactly. And so the best way that we can honor Charlie's legacy is to be more vocal, to stand up, get into the public space and start speaking our minds and speaking the truth. Yeah. Because that's what Charlie would have wanted us to do. And I'll say this real quick, Joey. Over the weekend, I put out that I am working with local city and county officials to erect a road sign, naming one of our roadways after Charlie Kirk. And it's crazy, going back to what you're saying with all the hate that's going around. You would not believe how many negative comments we got. But overwhelmingly, it has been very positive, and the majority of Americans are behind Charlie Kirk, and we need to remember his legacy and memorialize it for future generations. Yeah. My guest today, Representative Luke Rankin from Lawrence, representing the House District 14. Representative Rankin, it's just surreal. And my buddy Mike Gallagher has been in town this past weekend, and he and I at dinner last night, we just sat there, and Mike was a lot closer to Charlie than I. He worked with Charlie a lot more often, but still, just sit there and just talk about Charlie in the past tense. I mean, this young man, a few weeks ago, we were talking about rallies and broadcasts that we'd be holding in the future. And now we're talking about heading out to Phoenix next weekend. We'll be there Friday with the Mike Gallagher Show, and then again on Monday, and we'll be at the memorial service, but literally be talking about a memorial service for our friend. It's devastating, and I don't think our country is ever going to recover from this. And I hope people realize the significance of who Charlie Kirk was and what he meant, not only to the younger generation, but what he meant to older generations as well. Yeah. And I know this for a fact, Joey. He was a future president in the making. He was one of the most intelligent, eloquent speakers of our time. And it's just utterly devastating. My heart goes out to Erica and the kids, his parents,
And, this whole country will be mourning his loss for, again, many years to come.
I think you're right, Representative Rankin. Not only did they silence a voice, a voice in our times, but they also silenced a future leader, because I agree with you. I think that he definitely had a bright future down the road. I played a clip the other day in Friday's show of a lady asking him just recently, would he ever consider running for president? And he, very politely said, I think I'm pretty happy where I am, and I'm having an impact. And he said, my goal is to support President Trump and to see that Vice President J.D. Vance is elected in 4 years. But, he's going to leave a real vacant spot, and especially among the young people. I just really grieve for the young people who had gotten involved because of Charlie Kirk, and now their leader is gone.
That's right. And Joey, I'm one of those people. I'm 28 years old. Charlie was just 3 years older than me. We had a lot in common as far as involvement in politics, young families. But I listened to Charlie Kirk practically every day. If it wasn't one of his videos coming up through my feed, it was me listening to one of his podcasts. He was one of the first places I went to for information. Yeah. And millions of other young people were obviously the same way. Yeah. But the future in front of him was unbelievable. Obviously a life cut way too short.
For sure.
But we know that God has a plan, Joey. And I think God has used this scenario to point people to what is important. And that's our faith in God, getting back into church, and becoming that Christian nation that we have strayed so far from. And Charlie was the one that was really trying to bring us back to that.
Absolutely. Representative Luke Rankin, is always a pleasure. Keep fighting the good fight, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds great. Thanks, Joey.
Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at furmanford.com, furmanford.com. We had a great time on Saturday evening. Many of you were able to join us out on the farm for our first annual Freedom Farm Fest. It was a great time in partnership with the 4th District Congressional Club, and just a lot of patriots there. And we celebrated Charlie Kirk's life as well. And just a chance for like-minded people to come together. We had some great barbecue, a lot of great conversation. My buddy Mike Gallagher was with us, of course, and we recognized Mike and his work for all these many years. Nate Loip, the chairman of the 4th District Congressional Club, presented Mike with a Lifetime Achievement Award, and they named it the first annual Charlie Kirk Freedom Award, and presented that to Mike Gallagher for his work over the years and his presence in upstate South Carolina. So a lot of fun for many of you who were there. For those of you who listen to my podcast or in other parts of the country, weren't able to be with us, you missed a great evening, but it was fun, and I appreciate everyone who was there. Of course, everybody had heavy hearts. We had a young lady, Nyla, who was coming to sing the national anthem, but she also sang one of my favorite Christian songs, Goodness of God. And it just really, there was just an atmosphere of praising God for life and praising God for the effect that Charlie Kirk has had on our country. So just a fun evening, and sorry if you missed it. Maybe there'll be a second annual Freedom Fest. Clemson University is facing heat from some Republican lawmakers and the college Republican group. And we had the Clemson College Republican president and some of those young men over at Freedom Fest, Freedom Farm Fest on Saturday. I enjoyed meeting them. And they're not taking no for an answer. They are pushing for the termination of 2 professors for their comments on social media, again celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Now, the outrage began when Clemson College Republicans posted about Melvin Villiver, an assistant professor of audio technology and global black studies, who shared posts mocking Charlie Kirk in the hours after his death, including a post that said, quote, "According to Kirk, empathy is a made up New Age term. So keep the jokes coming. It's what he would have wanted." Villiver even added, "Racism and white supremacy age you." The college Republicans also posted about assistant professor Josh Breggy, who works in the Environmental Engineering and Earth Sciences Department and previously posted about supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. Breggy shared a post that said Kirk's assassination was karma for his outspoken conservative views. The school said in a unsigned statement last week, Clemson University unequivocally condemns any and all expressions that endorse, glorify, or celebrate political violence. The deeply inappropriate remarks made on social media in response to the tragic murder of Charlie Kirk are reprehensible and do not reflect the university values and principles that define our university community. They went on to write, "We stand firmly on the principles of the U.S. Constitution, including the protection of free speech. However, that right does not extend to speech that incites harm or undermines the dignity of others. We will take appropriate action for speech that constitutes a genuine threat which is not protected by the Constitution." Now, Clemson did not address the 2 professors' employment status, but conservative lawmakers, including the South Carolina House Freedom Caucus, said the professors were allowed to stay in their jobs, and that's created some outrage among a lot of Clemson alumni. Representative Thomas Beach, Republican from Anderson, posted on X, "The South Carolina legislature appoints 6 members of the 13-member Board of Trustees at Clemson. I think we need to know which board members did not want these leftist professors fired." Now, it didn't stop there. A letter was sent to the Clemson Board of Trustees, signed by South Carolina Speaker of House, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee, which is the budget writing committee for the House. The letter was also signed by the president of the state Senate, Thomas Alexander, and by Senator Harvey Peeler, who is chairman of the Senate Finance Committee and also a very powerful Clemson alumni. And these 4 men were directing or asking the Board of Trustees to address this situation. Well, we got word that the Board of Trustees have called a special meeting for later today, Monday afternoon at 2 p.m. It indicates that the board will receive information behind closed doors, which is legally permissible if it's about personnel legal matters, but they won't take any action behind closed doors. The subject of the board meeting has not been publicly disclosed, but you got to kind of put two and two together, right? If they've been pressured to take action against these professors and they suddenly call an unscheduled meeting after receiving a letter from 4 very powerful state legislators, then you got to kind of assume that it's about this situation, don't you think? In the letter, it says, while the university has issued a statement, it fails to address the gravity of the matter. We urge the Board of Trustees to meet to consider this situation and take immediate and appropriate action. U.S. Senator Tim Scott shared a very similar statement on X, saying your First Amendment rights do not include a right to a job. Clemson's professors were completely inappropriate. The vile and disgusting celebration of a murder must compel the university to take clear and immediate action. And again, you've got other lawmakers out there with members of the Freedom Caucus who are calling for a special legislative session to slash the state funding that Clemson gets if it doesn't fire these employees. A social media post advocating that position from Representative Jordan Pace, who is chairman of the South Carolina Freedom Caucus, was shared by President Donald Trump, which immediately got thousands and thousands and thousands of reshares and comments. Now, the American Civil Liberties Union of South Carolina issued their own statement condemning political violence while also calling out the, quote, targeted harassment of teachers, professors, and other public servants for political statements posted on personal sites. Is there a separation there? When they talk about, well, it's their personal site. They're not doing this in any official capacity. Again, it gets back to what we talked about earlier today. If your employer, whether it's a business or a public institution like Clemson University or Presbyterian College, if they have a policy on social media and what's appropriate, inappropriate, I think these folks can lose their job and should lose their job. Again, it's not a matter of freedom of speech. It's a matter of taking responsibility of that speech. We'll see. That's it for today's show. Tara's up next, followed by Mike Gallagher, who's in town today. Bill Frady, Charlie James, and I'm back again tomorrow at 5 a.m. for your first cup of coffee in Sunrise, Carolina. Until then, folks, remember, and we really need to remember this in these trying days, God is in control. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.